Let's get curious about design and what designing can do, and just as importantly, what designers can do. Today's what if question is, what if you became a designer? So design is about functionality, aesthetics, usability, and small details. In other words, designers work to create systems that work really well, look great, and can be used by all sorts of people, and they're always sweating those little details. Imagine some system or process. Maybe it's your morning routine, your computer, or even this book. Can you identify problem areas? What are the problems with the system or process, and what are some ways to fix it? That's the functionality part. Well, after you're done thinking about that, how does the system look? Is there a visual component? If there is, what looks great about it and what looks terrible? Thinking about this book, is there enough space around the text blocks? If you only glanced at it, would you be able to pick out the important parts quickly? That's the aesthetics. If your grandmother were using the system or process, would she understand it right away? What would your younger siblings do? If you were colorblind, broke your arm, or couldn't hear, would you still be able to use it as well? Is there a large gap between how new users use the system and how people who have used it for a really long time use it? Well, that's the usability. The little details are hard to find sometimes, but when you do, and when you realize why they're there, it makes you smile. Maybe the pockets of your pants are colored, but only on the inside. Maybe there's a menu that is only on the screen if you click on the text that would use it. Maybe your hammer is designed to reduce vibrations when you're hitting nails. These details are subtle and can be hidden, but once you start examining your world every day, such details will start to pop out. So those are the different parts of design. Remember, functionality, aesthetics, usability, and the small details. So if you want to be a designer, the first step is understanding these are the different parts that you use in your design. Now here's an activity you can do to start practicing being a designer and put those parts into practice. Look around you. What can you improve? Unless you're in the middle of an untouched forest, there's likely a part of your environment that was built by humans. A chair, a writing utensil, a photo, a sign, a building, a way to interact with something. And even if you are in an untouched forest, you're likely wearing clothes and maybe holding this book or reading it on a digital device. So there's something there, right? Choose one of the things around you now. Pick it up if you can and examine it. What features can you pick out? Why do you think someone chose to make it that way? Now here's the fun part. What can you make better about it? Can you add or take away functionality? Can you make it look more pleasing? Can you make it easier for someone to use? Can you add a small detail that really gives the object or interaction character? Write and draw at least one thing in your journal for each category: function, aesthetics, usability, and small details. So in other words, find an object around you and see if you can first examine it and then redesign it to make it better by taking something away or adding something to it in terms of the function, aesthetics, usability, and small details, and then see what you come up with in terms of a better design. Now, before you go off and do that, there is a really interesting person. I'd say famous, even though you've probably never heard of her name before. I'm sure you've seen her work before. Probably one of the most famous or notable designers ever based on what she created. Carolyn Davidson, designer of Swoosh. So graphic design is a part of the design profession that focuses on how things appear visually. These designers focus on typography, color choice, layout, visual patterns, understandability, and sometimes logos. In 1971, Carolyn Davidson was hired by Nike co-founder Phil Knight at a rate of $2 per hour to design a logo for his new company. She was a student at Portland State University at the time, studying graphic design. She sketched a set of logos that needed to convey motion and look good on a shoe. The new company chose her sketch of a check mark, the now famous Nike swoosh. When she finished her work, she made $35 off of the logo. Though in 1983, Nike gave Davidson 500 shares of stock to hopefully make things a little better, because $35 for that logo, wow. Now, that might be another fun activity for you to do. Carolyn was given the task of creating something, right? A logo that needed to convey motion and look good on a shoe. Well, what if someone contacted you about a new shoe that they were releasing and they had everything done except the logo, and they needed to have a logo that could convey motion and look good on a shoe? What would you design? I'd be really curious to see what you have. Thanks again for getting curious today. As always, keep healthy and stay curious.